said was really cool. You might want to look it up if you're into things like that. So this week we're in the concluding part of my teaching, the Yogacara, and we're talking about the three natures, which I'll do a review on, and I'll be back next Tuesday to do that, and on Thursday I'll be here, but Erica will give a talk, and then after that Debbie and Malcolm are giving a talk, and after that Rachel is giving a talk. I thought it would be fun to have to hear some voices about, because you all have been synthesizing, I think, all of this, so it'll be fun to see how it comes through other people. And then I'm contemplating what we're going to do next. I have some thoughts. If you have thoughts, let me know. Sunday is the all-day sit. Please come. I'm having fun writing a lecture about thusness. I'm sure you're equally excited about thusness, but trust me, it's great. You'll love it. No. Anyway, it's spending a day sitting down is an eminently sane thing to do for yourself and for the whole world. It's not just for you. It certainly helps, but the world needs to be grounded and breathed with. Next Wednesday, I'll announce it again, is the monthly vigil for the Sanctuary Coalition. I brought a little information about it over there. It's a really nice thing to do, Courthouse Square. You're all welcome. And Debbie's away. Debbie and Beth have been doing some of the setup. Beth could use some help. You could contact Beth if you wanted to jump in. Okay. Just a really quick review. Yogacara is a school of Buddhism that was established by Vasubandhu as a bridge. There was contention between early Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism, but Zen is rooted in Mahayana. That's the tradition. But they were arguing over who was the Mahayanas called the early Buddhists the lesser vehicle, which wasn't insulting at all. I'm sure nobody took offense. And they called themselves the greater vehicle. So, nobody's free from this stuff. Vasubandhu noticed, and this was a way to synthesize the two. So we spent a fair amount of time on the early Buddhism, which a lot of it just says there is afflictive emotions. The minute you see through dualism, which is the way we see, because the way we're hardwired, you see one thing and set it up against the other, and then there's concepts and beliefs and habits, and you're going to have suffering. Just pay attention and notice what seeds you're watering. You can keep doing the same old thing, which you probably will, which will humble you. But you can also notice when you make a different choice and you do plant a seed of kindness or compassion or something different. And so now we're in the three natures. We've been using Vasubandhu's Inside Yogacara, Ben Connolly, who's very clear and grounded and of the world and socially engaged, using a little bit of Vasubandhu's The Three Natures, which is also Ben Connolly's commentary on it. Practitioner's Guide to Liberation, been using some Thich Nhat Hanh's Understanding Our Mind. I've been fishing around a lot in this, so we'll see what I actually get to today. But so again, another review, the three natures. First one is what Vasubandhu calls the imaginary nature, not imagination in a creative way, but in that we are projecting the world, we are imagining the world into existence through our afflictive emotions and all the 100 million ways that we've been conditioned and it's not just, it's past, present, and future. Each moment is being conditioned and created through everything that happened in greed, hate, and delusion. And just look at the world, see what a great job we're doing. So keep doing the same thing, folks. I'm sorry. Just notice it and study it. I'm just going to read you little bits of Suzuki Roshi. If you cling to an idea you create, like a self or an objective reality out there, or I am me and just me, self-centered, you will be lost in the objective world that you create with your mind. This is exactly what this first nature is. You are creating things one after another, so there is no end. There may be various worlds you are creating, and to create and see many things is very interesting, but you should not be lost in your creations. Second, other dependent nature, which is interdependence. Everything is co-creating everything else, and there's no beginning and no end, and everything is free of any inherent self-existence, which is, in Buddhist doctrine, more or less held up that if you, as you wake up more and more, that's the way you see the world. Vasubandhu, if I'm getting this right, said even that is just conceptions, you know? I mean, Thich Nhat Hanh and all of, I mean, Thich Nhat Hanh, this is you know, everything mixed together and turned into garbage, and the sun and the light, and he does an amazing job of it. But that's conceptions too, because we're still registering it through our mind. But it's an important insight that nothing is separate of any inherent self-existence. Here's what Suzuki Roshi said: instead of being enslaved by the thinking mind, because that's the minute you think, we think. The thinking mind creates things. That's what it does. It's very good at that, and that's wonderful. Just be aware of what it's creating. Instead of being enslaved by the thinking mind or the imagination or emotional activity, we just think in its true sense. Thinking comes to us from our true self, which includes everything. Before we think about it, trees, birds, and everything are thinking, and when they think, they groan or they sing. That is their thinking. Isn't that great? That's how a frog expresses itself. It's like, that's frog thinking, ribbit. There is no need for us to think more than that. If we see things as it is, thinking is already there. That kind of pure thinking is the thinking we have in our practice, so we always have freedom from ourselves too. We can see things as it is at the end, and at the same time we can think about things, because we do not cling to any particular standard for thinking. For us, there is no true way and no false way, which then takes us to the third nature, which leaps beyond the imaginary and the interdependent and leaps into the non-dual, which is really the heart of Mahayana, is non-dual or emptiness or impermanence, which is, of course, a wonderful thing to say, and then what in the world are we talking about? So that's why you should come this weekend, because that's what I'm going to talk about. And because in verse 25, the complete realized nature, which is the third nature, of all phenomena is thusness. It's one name for it, or suchness, or emptiness, or Tathagata, or the womb of the Tathagata. I love that one, the womb of the Tathagata. And since it is always already thus, it is projection only. So you can't get out of it, because You can't get out of duality, because that would be like telling you not to perceive reality as we perceive it. But we also can't get out of, I think it's what we experience when we sit zazen, and when they say, when Suzuki Roshi and others say, just die at the end of the exhale, just let go at the end of the exhale. What's there? There's everything and nothing there. And then the next moment arises. And it's one way to describe it is it's Prajna Paramita, which is the Heart Sutra, which is, she's called the mother of all Buddhas. So it's like this fertile, it's the storehouse that we talked about earlier, has now been transformed into luminous mirror-like wisdom of just, she's giving birth to everything each moment, and it's fresh and clear and jewel-like and shining, if we can but have a simultaneous experience of, oh, that's just a tree. And what is it? The sense of wonder, of just each moment, that it's alive and dynamic. And that anything we say, the minute we say it, makes it small. And it is just this piece of paper, and as Thich Nhat Hanh would say, you know, it's sun and moon and rain and wood and the people who cut down the trees, everything is contained within everything else. So now I'm going to read to you from Ben in, I think, this book. See, that one's soft too.
Huh?
So this is other dependent nature. The other dependent nature, everything arising out of everything else, arises from conditions. The blooming of one tulip in Belgium is dependent on the accumulation of gases in an orb billions of years ago that began to form our sun, and on unknowable years of human effort. And that's less than a billionth of the things it depends on. As Carl Sagan once said, if you wish to bake an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the entire universe. We cannot see all the conditions that give rise to anything unless we can see everything that has ever happened in the entire universe. What we can see, if we can see the other dependent nature, is a conceptualization of those conditions. When you see that your child is angry and frustrated, perhaps take a moment to think of all the conditions that give rise to create this suffering person in this moment. When you are in the grocery store, take time to contemplate all the things that come together so that you can lift an apple into your basket. When you recall that countless people work together to bring this piece of food to you, I hope you may taste some appreciation and connection. When you see that emotions and harmful actions come from a vast history of human suffering, I hope that you may feel some compassion for those you might otherwise judge. When you see that your accomplishments are the results of infinite conditions outside yourself, I hope you feel some humility and gratitude. So the central tenet, or one of the central tenets of Yogacara, is that something is happening, but that fundamentally it's not what we think. So it's both dual and it's non-dual. It's the one and the many. So we're projecting, illusions exist. Our actions create and co-create an infinite web of interdependence. the tricky part is that consciousness is momentary. All we have is this moment. I mean, it's just, it's not, that's really slow time. Consciousness is moment after moment after moment. And infinity is revealed in each phenomena as it appears, just like that. So if we have some taste or some intuitive sense of the wonder and the mystery, as Ben was describing, one, we become more humble, more compassionate, more insightful, more open-hearted. There's more creativity and freedom to wonder each moment. So what is it, and who am I, and who are you, and who are they, and what is this world that we have such strong opinions and views about, so that we can meet whatever arises with our whole selves and offer creative response and plant seeds of goodness. So freedom, if this is a liberatory teaching, which is, Ben says in Vasubandhu's Three Natures, a practitioner's guide to liberation, it's freedom from duality, and it's freedom from thinking there's a oneness that's separate from just this. So there's freedom the freedom is don't know mind. The freedom is just this. The freedom is what is it, and then what arises is compassion. Then it becomes the appropriate response of, we all seem to be in this together. And the frogs are speaking, and the birds are singing, and the tree is treeing. I was reading something today, Dan Layton talked about presencing. Everything is presencing, so we're all here together, so what's the appropriate response? Which is, how can we be kind? How can we bring forward loving kindness? How can we bring forward compassion? So, and Thich Nhat Hanh, you still following me, sort of, more or less? Okay. Thich Nhat Hanh's commentary in the 50 verses by Vasubandhu says, validates deluded mind is an imaginary construct. All of our the suffering of separation and everything that comes out of it. But just to tie it back to Rachel, who is here, and the Avatamsaka Sutra, is the Avatamsaka Sutra is the way that Buddhist sutras talk about the non-dual world. So everything that we were studying during practice period, this is how Thich Nhat Hanh describes it, the world of the Avatamsaka. The sun, flowers, animals, forests, and all the things that are wonderful. Not the world based on ignorance where things are seen as unsatisfactory and where there is craving for something else, i.e., and maybe we bomb people or we take things or we do whatever we do. But to just be firmly grounded here in this moment in the wonder of each thing, that is how we create the world of the Avatamsaka Sutra, which already is. So it's just keep coming back. And when people with a deluded mind come together, they manifest suffering, anger, and hate. The collective manifestation we create is hell. That is why we practice looking deeply in order to transform delusion, anger, and hatred. The goal of practice is not to end a life that is full of suffering, but to create a life filled with joy and peace. So that's, one might say that's Bodhisattva vow, but that's bodhisattva vow arises out of, is beings are numberless, I vow to save them, to save all of us and to wake up in this delusion of a world of suffering and to remember goodness and love and happiness. Second one is delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them, which is wake up, wake up, wake up. Notice when anger and anxiety arise, and you can just say to yourself, is that so? Take a breath. Come back. See what happens next. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The world is alive and vivid and dynamic. So pay attention when you more and more see yourself backed into some corner that feels flat or narrow or opinionated. Don't judge it, because that just creates more suffering, but just notice it and then take a breath, because the whole world is here. The whole world is alive and wants us to wake up. And Dharma gates are boundless, I vow, Buddha's way is unsurpassable, I vow to become it. Which one might say is taking refuge. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in this world that includes suffering and is so much more, visible and invisible. I take refuge in Dharma, which are the teachings, but I take refuge in the Dharma of everything singing me and us alive. And I take refuge in Sangha, which is I take refuge in the community of all of us, those of us who practice, and ultimately in the Buddha nature of everyone. I take refuge for the sake of all beings, for the sake of the generations to come and generations past, and for the well-being of those who are caught in worlds in hell realms. So here's Ben in his book gives practices. And here's a practice for the dependent nature of phenomena, the interconnection of everything. You want to hear it? You want to try it? Okay. We sometimes say that complete realization, which is emptiness, thusness, is to see the dependent nature of things without conception. But thinking about, conceptualizing the dependent, interdependent, co-arising, dependent nature of everything is actually very helpful. When your spouse is standing before you with flushed cheeks and a tense, defensive stance, and your words are coming fast and unwilled, or aggressive silence is thickening in the room, Bruce and I had an argument. Arguments are awful. They really are. And sometimes they just happen. I'll read this one again. This is for me, but it's for all of you. When your spouse or partner or friend or somebody across the street or is standing before you with flushed cheeks and a tense defensive stance, and your words are becoming fast and unwilled, or aggressive silence is thickening in the room, stop to recall that infinite conditions come together to bring them to this point of suffering. It's not about you. You could also reflect on that about yourself. This really isn't about you. This is infinite conditions coming through you in this very moment, and you can't believe what's coming out of your mouth, and that you're being the same old obstinate person all over again. It's amazing. When you stop to look out across a patch of flowers in a neighbor's yard, think of all the gentle effort made by your neighbor to make this tiny patch of Buddha, of beauty. Mm-hmm. Think of all the ants and worms who lived and died therein. Think of the vast, incomprehensible power of the sun that feeds it all, and the fact that each individual raindrop had its place in bringing this moment of you and flowers into being. Let your mind help you step into a life that sees all things as an infinite web of connection. Let your mind help you to step into a life that sees all things as an infinite web of connection. Okay, so that's your job. We're going to get in small groups. Maybe a jump-off line is something that happened this week, or something that arises in my memory, in my imagination. That gave me a moment or an insight into the interconnection of all things. See what comes to you. It doesn't have to be big. Just something little. Gave you a sense of wonder or awe or curiosity that just in a moment snapped you out of some habitual, rote way of thinking or behavior. Okay? Okay. So you got 10, you got about 15 minutes, so groups of 3, maybe 3 minutes to just share something that comes to you or feel your way into